guys, my name is Nikki, aka the Dragon Queen, and today I'm going to tell you what I plan to read for my Popsugar challenge. Now, most of these books are books I already own, but some of them are books that I am interested in or do fit the category. I am going to try to better fit into the Popsugar challenges this year and hope to expound on what I read. I'm going to be reading Horns by Joe Hill. This book is a book about a man who wakes up one day with horns on his head. He doesn't know what happened the night before that caused it, but he does find out it comes with some peculiar powers that maybe aren't that great. I've seen the movie and I absolutely adored the movie, so I could not wait to jump into the book. Then I'm going to read The Stranger Beside Me, a Ted Bundy inside story. This is by Anne Rule. This is I believe, a non-fiction book. And my best friend really enjoys true crime, so I'm excited to jump into this. This is one she recommended for me. Then I'm going to try to finish Waistcoats and Weapons by Gail Carringer. This is the third book in the Finishing School series. I was supposed to finish this last year. I did start it and then got distracted and never finished. So I am very excited to jump in. I absolutely love this series. It follows Victorian children and they go to a school where they learn to be proper ladies, but also assassins. So you kind of can't beat that, honestly, unless there were dinosaurs. But there aren't dinosaurs. Leah Bardugo's Six of Crows. I've heard so many things about this on BookTube, and I cannot wait to jump into this, and it's Zoology. Eeny Meeny by M.J. Arledge. I believe this one is a thriller, but I believe it's about a couple of children going missing, or a couple of people going missing, and one does not make it out alive. And the way that the bad guy chooses is using Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Not entirely sure. It's been a while since I read it, but I think that's what it was. Look Who's Back by Timur Verns. Now this book is a fiction book featuring Hitler and what if he came back into the future and became a YouTube sensation? Yeah. I'm getting weird looks from my husband, but yeah, I'm serious. That's what it's about. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is another one I heard about from BookTube, and I am really excited to jump into it. I've heard so many good things about this series. Actually, this was one that I tried to find at the bookstore for months and could not find it, and eventually just bought it online. And I still haven't read it, even though I was looking forward to it.
That's the one I want to read.
That's the one you want to read? Then read it. And tell me how good it is. Another nonfiction book, and this is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Burdett. I'm not entirely sure what this is about. I do remember reading the back when I purchased the book, but I can't recall off the top of my head. I believe it has to do with psychology, because psychology thoroughly intrigues me, and I like to get into the background of that and why the brain does what it does. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Now, every time I mention that I've read a Neil Gaiman book, I'm asked, did I read American Gods? The answer is always, no, not yet. So I finally bought this, and this was a gift that I received, and I'm excited to jump into it, though it looks like a terrifyingly big book, so we'll see how quickly I jump onto that one. Stiff, The Curious Life of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. Now this is another nonfiction book that my best friend recommended to me that is about death and grief. She gave it 5 stars, and I trust her opinion on this, so I am excited to jump into this and learn more about what death entails and all that nitty-gritty dark stuff. Flightplan by K.M. Hurks. Now this is an indie book and it's published by one of my friends. I have read a couple of her other stories and absolutely adored them. I've heard of fantastic things about this one. I do recommend her writing. I'll leave that information down below so you can check her out. The High King's Will by M.A. Ray. Now I just mentioned M.A. Ray in my last video, or one of my last videos, so I do recommend her. I left the links there and I will leave a link down below. Sweeney Todd by Stephen Sondheim. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you don't know what Sweeney Todd is, there is a movie out and I absolutely love the movie. It has Johnny Depp in it. And the songs in it are amazing, and I think that Johnny Depp and...
What's the... No, what's the lady, Bellatrix? The one who played Bellatrix in Harry Potter. She's married to... She's married to what's-his-face? I'm blanking on the names. Helena Carter. Bonham Carter.
It has Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, and I think they make a fantastic duo, especially in some of the movies that they're in. So I really got into the musical in the movie. I didn't even realize it was a book, but when I realized it was a book, I snatched it up immediately. Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Marino. This book is one that I did not know anything about beforehand, and I found it through Goodreads, so I have purchased it and I am excited to learn more and give a new author a chance. Dietland by Surya Walker. I heard fantastic things about this from Sylvia over at Wish Fulfillment. That's going to be my shout out for the day, by the way. Sylvia is a fantastic booktuber. I love watching her videos. I love watching or knowing that she will always make sure that she will look out for people, the reader and booktubers, and she's just a wonderful human being overall. I can't say enough good things about her. She was also fantastic in real life too. I got to meet her at BookNet Fest last year, and I hope to get to see her again this year at BookNet Fest. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Now this is a book featuring a main character with anxiety, and I've heard some really good things about it, and I've enjoyed A Fault in Our Stars by John Green, so I was excited to jump into it. I've already read this book, and I'm gonna say, it lived up to the hype. The anxiety in this book is astonishing how perfect he portrays it. I know that he has anxiety, but it was anxiety-inducing sometimes listening to the audiobook. Blur by Cora Carmack. My best friend won this at BookNet Fest last year, and she read it and absolutely loved it. She told me I had to read it, so I currently have her copy and am going to do that. Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I mentioned this book in my 5 books I want to read in 2018, so I'm not going to go too far into detail. is the Game by Leopoldo Gout. This is a book that I had on my TBR last year and did not get to. I do want to get to it this year, or I will DNF it from my shelf. This is another indie author that had one review, I think, online, and that is Blackout by Lisa Unger. Now, she had a 5-star review, and I did want to give her a try, especially since she's a local author in my area. Never heard of her before, but I'm hoping that I love it. Purple Dragon by A. Green. It kind of bugs me that her last name is Green, actually, because it's Purple Dragon, it could be Dream Dragon, but then I wouldn't read it because my favorite color is purple. Hopefully it's great.
Don't laugh at me. It does bug me. It's Purple Dragon, it's A. Green.
It was your little
Rant
spiel
after?
afterwards.
This is me! That's how my brain works. Don't judge me.
Like,
Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Now, I've heard some great things about this one, especially from people who read young adult and want to get into adult. I do read some adult, and young adult lately has been not doing it for me, so I'm hoping that I love this as much as I've heard other people loving it on BookTube. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I won this actually from Jen, aka Batman, on Twitter. And yes, Batman's on Twitter. Jen has a BookTube channel. I will link her down below, or check her out on Twitter. And she was super nice to do a giveaway, and I won. It was awesome. I got 2 H.G. Wells books and a bunch of stuff like bookmarks and sticky notes and a bunch of little gizmos and gadgets, and it was really fun. It was an awesome little gift to get in the mail. For the third time, I will try to read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I was supposed to read this last year on audiobook, so this year I'm going to listen to it on audiobook. I promise.
next year.
If not this year, next year, says the producer, aka my husband. You should edit my stuff.
Yeah, fuck you.
My producer told me to fuck me. Wait. My producer is now fired. I can't work with a man that I'm in love with. It's a proven fact. Next up is The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. Now, this is the original version, and I'm excited to jump into it and actually read what the book is and not just the Disney version, which is the only one I know. This is another one that was on my TBR for last year, and that's Beauty and the Beast Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly. This is obviously a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I'm excited to get into it and see what I haven't heard much actually about this one lately. There's like a whole bunch of talk about it when it first came out, and then it kind of died off. So I'm curious to see if it will live up to the original hype or if it's going to die off for me too. No Good Dragon Goes Unpunished by Rachel Aaron. This is a series that I'm really enjoying. It was read by one of my best friends, Alicia, and she was like, Nikki, there's dragons. You would love this. You need to read it. Not only are there dragons, they're badass dragons, which actually I think is just a synonym for dragons. Just badass. Pretty sure you could just say badass and people be like, dragons. Don't we get it, me? You're not over here recording the booktube video.
I'm your producer.
You're not my producer. I fired you.
Oh. I'm a homeless man now.
You're homeless?
Yeah. You fired me. I can't afford my home now.
Cool. Get a job, you hippie. Dirty Magic by J. Wells. This one I do not know much about. I picked it up at Barnes & Noble. It sounded intriguing based off the very short synopsis I read on the back. I think I picked it up after the first sentence. And I was just like, yep, sounds good. Chucked it in the cart. By chuck, I mean placed it gently in the cart. I didn't have a cart. Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I don't really think I need to explain this one. Her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Neffinger. Now, I'm a little concerned about this one because I believe this is the same author of The Time Traveler's Wife, and I could not get into that one. But I'm giving it a shot. The Foundation Trilogy by Isaac Asimov. Now, I've started to read this book, and it's a very difficult read, but I am determined that I'm going to finish it this year. Even if it kills me. It probably will. The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. Now, I haven't heard much about this book, but the things I have heard were good. I can't remember anything said about it, but I'm assuming it's good. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been purchased and put on my shelf. Actually, that's a load of shit.
You tired of recording yet?
Yeah. Pretties by Scott Westerfeld. This is book 2 in the Ugly series, which features a world it's a futuristic world that's supposedly a utopia, but probably more of a dystopia, which is usually how utopias work. Basically, in order to avoid the issues that we have today in society where people don't feel like they are pretty enough, they make everybody at the age of 16 go through a surgery that changes them to all become identical. The people who are not having this done, or the people who choose to not do this illegally, they are considered uglies. So I'm assuming the Pretties is going to follow the other side of the story. On May 29th of this year, Stephanie Garber's second book, Legendary, will be coming out. I did read Caravel, and I did really enjoy that one, so I'm curious to see where the story continues to go from there. Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and his son Owen King. I am curious to see what this book goes through. I've already started it. So far, I'm about 5 hours into the audiobook. It's a 32-hour audiobook. Or is it 25? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a long book. But I'm intrigued and confused, which is pretty much how I feel about everything I've read by Stephen King so far. Voice of the Night by Dean Koontz. Now, this is one of those books that I've had on my shelf for a really, really ridiculously long time. And it fits in the category, and I used to love Dean Koontz, and I'm hoping that if I read it this time, I'm going to like it. But he's very hit or miss, so we'll see. Order of the Vespers by Elise Reyes. This is a indie book again, and I purchased it at MegaCon, I believe it was, in 2017. I meant to read it last year, but I did not read, like I've said in previous videos, for the last 2 months of the year, so I'm excited to get to that one this year. My best friend Ashley did read it, and she loved it, so I trust, like I said before, I trust her judgment. Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. Now this one is one I've heard mixed reviews on. I've heard some really good reviews and some reviews, but from what I can understand, Shatter Me was great and it goes downhill from there. So I'm a little worried about that, but I own the book, so I want to try to read it and see what my opinions are of it, and if I love it, then I'll continue on book 2, and if I hate it, then I'll DNF it from my shelf and not pick up book 2 and 3. The Librarian by Christy Sloat. This was recommended to me by my friend Shannon. She was reading it and I said, oh hey, that fits my Popsugar challenge perfectly. Let me know what you think. And she gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So I have read a couple of books that she loved that I loved as well. So I trust her. Night Broken by Patricia Briggs. This is book number 8 in the Mercy Thompson series. I read 1 through 7 last year. I reread 1 through 3 and then read up to 7 last year. I'm excited to read 8 and 9, and I believe 10 is out. I think Silence Fallen is 10. It might be 9. The next couple of ones are going to be the advanced list for Popsugar if you want to really push yourself. So I picked books out for that too. Eldest by Christopher Paolini. I did enjoy the first book, which is Eragon, and I did want to see what happened continuing the series. It was just about as good as the last one. It's a 4-star read for me. Wasn't amazing, wasn't bad. It entertained me though throughout the entire read. Warcross by Marie Lu. This is another one that is a booktube buy for me. I don't know anything about it, just that I saw a ton of people raving about it online and I picked it up. Simon vs. the Homo Sapien Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This is another one that was on my 2017 Popsugar challenge that I did not read, so I am going to get to that this year. The Grimm Fairy Tales. I'm going to try to read the entire thing. Wish me luck. The Glass Apple by Robert J. Franks. This is an indie book by one of my friends. I owned it on ebook, so I wanted to finally read it, and it fit perfectly with the theme. Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Now this one is one that I've started before and was not able to finish. I've owned this book for over 10 years, so I'm going to try to finish it now. Misae and Death by Nikki Woolfolks. This is an indie author that I know from my Facebook group, The Dragon's Rocket Ship. We share the same first name, so it worked for me. Wyatt by Susan Cain. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Now this is one that I started to read last year on paperback but needed to give it back to my friend, and I picked it up on audiobook this year. I've already finished it. It was a 5-star read. And finally, Golden Boy by Abigail Tardelin. Now, this one is one that I got in a mystery book of the month thing off of Etsy, which was where the person read it and left notes throughout the book on what they thought as they were reading it. So I'm curious to see what I think compared to it, but I didn't want to read it at the time that we received it. So those are all the books that I'm going to plan to read for Popsugar in 2018. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books and absolutely loved them that I should read first. And if you are participating in the Popsugar Challenge, let me know down below an indie book that you want to read. Try to read at least one indie book this year for that Popsugar Challenge. That would be fantastic. Like it if you like it, subscribe if you want to. And this is the Dragon Queen signing off.